Hello, 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 you fabulous interior design professional. Nice to see you, or nice to know that you're listening or watching. I'm Kimberley Seldon, as you may know. This is Business of Design, and I am going to be speaking today with an interior design professional who works not just in one state, but in multiple countries. And so we're going to talk about some of the joys and benefits of working outside of the city where you normally work. And we're going to talk about some of the challenges. And I think the bottom line is this: for those of you who feel like, gosh, I'd love to tackle those vacation properties, or I would love it if my client who lives in New York City would hire me to do her place in Boise, Idaho, then perhaps there are things you can do now to get yourself ready to tackle those projects when they come your way. And Christina is going to talk about how she grew up in Sweden. Christina Richardson. She started in Sweden, and she actually had a completely different career, I think something to do with the mining industry. And then when she moved to the United States, her husband got a job in the United States. She moved to the United States, opened her interior design business, then moved to Toronto, a new country, opened another interior design business. And now she works in all three of those countries. And it's been a really fascinating journey. Christina Richardson is somebody you may want to check her out. Christina Richardson Interiors on Instagram. She's also on YouTube. She has tons of videos. I really admire that. I'm a person who, although I have tons of work and tons of projects, so I have a lot of content, I'm not a person who loves jumping on the camera in the moment. I would rather focus on the work and be in it. And I don't like having to stop and think about, do my bangs look okay? Do I have makeup on? And my team has really been pushing me to do a lot more video. And I don't know what it is, guys, but it's not my sweet spot. I don't mind doing it. If somebody were following me around all day and doing the videos, I don't care. One of the things I learned early on about being on television, the best way to make sure you're comfortable on television, in my opinion, is to do the segment and never watch. Don't ever look. If I don't look, I can't criticize. When I look, I start going, oh, your hair looks stupid. Oh, that shirt, it's all crooked. Look at, there's fuzz from your sweater, and I can see something white here. And like, oh my God, why didn't you do it? Ugh. I don't like to do any of that. So I do a lot of TV. I enjoy it. I love it. I'm good at it. It comes easy to me. And I really think the secret is not looking. And maybe I need to give myself that advice in terms of social media, because I know I would do a lot more videos if I didn't think about what I looked like when I did the videos. So anyway, time for me to take my own medicine, I guess, if you will. I'm really glad you're here. Quick announcements from Cheryl, and we'll get right into the episode with Christina Richardson. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kimberly. Well, coming up on May 29th is our next BOD Live member meeting, and I'm going to be taking the lead talking about implementing systems. So we're going to tackle the roadblocks that are holding you back from implementing what you're learning. Whether it's membership through Business of Design, or you attend a conference, a 1-hour coaching call, whatever it is, the learning portion is only 20%. It's great to walk away motivated with all this great information, but if you don't do anything with that, you're not going to get a return on your investment of time or money in whatever it is you're learning. And at Business of Design, when you become a member, we really want to make sure that you're implementing what you learn. The systems are there for you and they work. They've been field tested by hundreds of designers around the world, but learning them just isn't enough. So I really want to answer those questions, find out where it is that you get stuck and what it is that motivated you to join in the first place. And usually it's one of two things. Time, you're just struggling to get through the day-to-day of running projects, and it's really hard to find time to work on your business. So we're going to look at that. And money. In most cases, if you're having a cash flow issue, you don't require more hours in the day. You don't necessarily even need to do more work in order to collect on that and get the systems in place to pick up that money that you're leaving on the table that you've already earned. So We're going to look at that together. And if you're thinking about becoming a member, please join us and get in on that conversation. I always say it's a snowball effect. Even if you have 30 minutes a week to dedicate to learning new systems, focus in on the most pressing issues that are taking up your time or your energy, something that you either want to be able to delegate to somebody else or that you need to be doing more efficiently. By creating those first couple of systems around those big items, you can get them off your plate, you can do them in a more efficient manner, and that allows you to free up the time to create more systems and create more time to work on your business. So let's tackle that together on May 29th. Save the date. And then, of course, we're also asking you to save the date October 26th. We're going to be celebrating 20 years of Business of Design at High Point Market, and we would love to see you there. Our itinerary so far is on the website. We will be adding more details as we get closer, but we also want to know who's going to be joining us. So we have a bit of an RSVP list on there. That's just notifying us that you're coming. We want to see some familiar names on there for sure. Officially, you need to register with High Point Market to attend, but we are doing that in partnership with Ann Moore, High Point Market, and Daniel House Club, and we would love to see you there. Thanks so much.
Hello, Christina. How are you?
I'm good. Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on this show. I love your podcast. I'm fangirling right away.
Oh, there you go. Well, I love all your videos. But tell me first, where are you? Where in the world are you? Because you, like me, have different locations you work from.
Yes. So right now I'm in Nevada.
Okay.
I'm actually heading to Las Vegas to KBIS.
Oh, okay. I'll be there.
In 2 weeks, and then I'm going to Sweden to finish a project.
Lovely.
And then South Carolina to start a project. So where are you, by the way? You're all over the place.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, so I was in South Africa yesterday. Last night we landed in Los Angeles. So I'm in Los Angeles, but I'll be in Cavis in a few days or a week or whenever that is. So yeah, I'm like you. It's just kind of, and I think that's a really good topic. Like, how do you manage when you have projects in different time zones? How does that even work? What does it look like? Because I know for a lot of people, they think, oh, that sounds fun. I would love to do that. And it can be fun, but it also can be challenging. So tell us how you ended up doing these projects in such unique locations.
Okay, so just to start, to start with, I'm Swedish. I grew up in the northern part of Sweden, south of the Arctic Circle. So, and I've always been a designer. I wanted to be an architect, but I think the Swedish universities, they accepted like 60 students a year, like something that, so I didn't get in. Even though I was the most talented, obviously, but so I started my design business just helping people with drawing permits, stuff like that, because I had a degree in construction engineering at that time, and I worked at an architectural firm and all that. So and then I was just that, the heck with it. I'm just going to get a degree in mechanical engineering because the town I grew up in is a mining town. And so I got a master's in mechanical engineering, and I started working for the mines. And I ended up being a business director for one of the biggest mines in Sweden, or mining companies. So, but I had my design business in Sweden on the side the whole time.
Right.
So to answer your question, that's how the Swedish part of the business started. And then my husband actually got a job in the US, and I was like, this is my shot. So we took only one out of two children with us, because the other one, she just started the university and all that. But the younger one, we brought her with us, and we moved to the US, and I got a real degree in interior design here in the US.
Oh, wow.
So I started my American company 10 years ago here. And then we had to move to Toronto, so I started a Canadian company as well. So yeah, that's why I'm in all these places. And
Wow.
yeah, but I have to tell you, I listen to your podcasts. I love them. They're the best. Um, and I've been in the toddler state. You know, you talk
The toddler stage of your business. Yeah. Yeah.
infancy state and then toddler. I I I got out of the toddler state basically maybe a year ago, two
Right.
years ago. Um, it started 4 years ago, and yeah. So I have been a toddler for a very long time,
Yeah.
but
Some of us
not
stay there
anymore.
indefinitely. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Not
It's
anymore.
kind of relatively easy to get out of that once you know what to do, right? Yeah.
Exactly. You just need a kind of a kick in the butt.
Yeah. Well, okay. So has it did growing up in Sweden, does that inform? Because it looks to me like it does inform your design decisions wherever your projects are. I can see that thread of like that beautiful, clean simplicity. I love it.
Thank you. I think it's more a matter of it's really hard to wash out. Like I
Mm.
can't. You're probably right. Yeah.
But it works, right? Like, who doesn't love that style? I find like we do projects that have an element of that in Toronto for sure, and LA. Just if you like simple, clean, modern, it just works.
Yeah, and I think it works really well. For instance, like you said, like Toronto, I lived in Toronto for a couple of years, and the houses are fairly small. The apartments are not very spacious. You need to make the most out of everything. So, yeah.
It works. It just works. Okay, so then now here you are, and you currently have projects going on, not just in different cities, but in different countries. So,
Mm.
how do you begin to make something like that work?
I I mean, obviously for me, I've been traveling and starting my companies as I moved and traveled. But for someone who wants to try and start to work remotely and maybe widen the horizons a bit, maybe a Canadian wanting to try their luck in the US. And I know many American designers, they work in Baja and Cancun, for instance. Um, I would say like the most important part for me at least was the insight that you need to have systems in order. And
Yeah.
so I'm gonna just for, for me it was my first real project abroad was when I lived in Toronto still. And I do think that was the start of me coming out of toddlerhood.
Mm.
Um, and I do think it takes maybe I call it, excuse my French, but I call it oh shit moments.
Yeah.
Have you had an oh shit moment?
How I can't count how many I've had. Yeah. And usually lead to some, if you're lucky, they'll lead to some kind of transformation that's positive, right?
They often do if you have the guts to conquer them. And
Mm.
so I got this huge project in South Carolina. We had been traveling back and forth to South Carolina on vacation. I built a social media presence there, and finally it paid off. And a client contacted me, um, Canadians having a beach house in Hilton Head Island, of course.
Mhm.
So, and I was like, oh shit. How do I do this? Because I didn't
Yeah.
have the systems in place. But at the same time, I'm like, I can't decline this. So the first thing I did was I need digital mood boards. I need a system for invoicing. I need, all that. So I personally chose design files. I know there's so many different
Mhm.
systems out there. And I don't really think it matters which one you pick. as long as you stick with it. And as you said, be good at it. Like
Yeah.
really stick with it. So that's kind of the first thing I did. And then I started to look at my systems, welcome packages, and like what my corporate brain, my business brain started kicking in. Like I need a route to follow, and it needs to be the same every project. And I started working with that. And the second thing I did was I hired a lady who took care of all my web
Mm-hmm.
issues. And when things really started kicking off was when I hired a PR and communications manager. That just, yeah, it was because, as you say, like systems, and then try to kind of get other people to do what you don't like to do, or
Mm-hmm.
what you're not good at, or yeah, both. And she started contacting magazines, getting me featured in magazines, podcast. She probably called you as well. Podcasts. I mean, just get the name out there. Like
Mm-hmm.
Christina Richardson Interiors. Everybody needs to know the name. It's kind of that type of mindset. And communicating with people who knew someone who knew someone who knew someone. And
So your PR person, meanwhile, you're working on your systems behind the scenes. So you're ready
yeah,
for these new clients, but it is your PR company that helped bring the clients to you. They put your face in the right places so that clients could find you.
yes, and we talked about like what the ideal client, like
Yeah.
what's your ideal client, how do you communicate with ideal clients, what's your Instagram going to look like, what is posts, what is stories. And she was like, you know what, you have to look good all the time. And I'm like, too, but she's like,
I know
you know,
I'm terrible at that. I don't want to put on makeup. I just want to like go to my yoga class and so my office is always like, you have to do videos. I'm like, ugh, nobody wants to look at me. And they're like, yes, but brush your hair.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you're selling yourself,
Mm,
even though you have a team,
yeah,
they want to know who you are. You
yeah,
have to get in front of the camera, and it's so uncomfortable. But I mean, I did all these things at once: systems, PR, got rid of the things that I didn't want to do. And over a 3.5 year period, I think my revenue has gone up with 30 times.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I
it
mean,
really works.
yeah, it doesn't surprise me, but the reality is because we hear that a lot, like my revenue doubled, tripled, quadrupled. We hear that a lot.
Mhm.
None of that can happen if you can't deliver the goods once the clients hire you. So you've got to do the back end work first. And if
Absolutely.
you're at the stage where like, yeah, I'm going to hire a PR person, don't bother unless you have systems in place because you're not going to be able to deliver, right?
True.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the start, it feels so, and you can probably relate to this, like when you finally realize I need to work on my processes and my systems, and you start doing that, and it feels like you're not doing any work. It's just
Yeah.
like, am I just, what am I doing here? But it's
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah, and then until you can test them in the field, like theory, who cares, right? You've got to actually then try them on clients, which is amazing. So you said that there were different things that you had to learn how to do. And you, for example, you had to learn how to do digital mood boards because you wanted to be able to present
Mhm.
virtually to clients. I am in the habit when I have a project out of town, I will go to do the presentation live if I can, but I've not had to go as far as say Sweden from California. That's a big commitment.
Mhm.
So how do you feel about that? Does it work just as well to do your presentations on Zoom or meetings or whatever?
It does. So what I usually do is, for instance, I send over the mood boards digitally. Bigger projects, I also make like old-fashioned mood boards with all the fabrics and everything, and I send the time, and I send them a package with the the presentation, and we have a presentation on FaceTime or Zoom or whatever. It works really well. But I do travel, but I don't visit on site as much as I do if the
Yeah.
project is in the town nearby. So for instance, I work quite a lot with beach houses in Hilton Head, South Carolina area. And I travel there, maybe start up to see the project, to give them an estimate and all that. And then maybe mid-project when the contractors are midway, maybe when they're tiling. I really want to be there when they're tiling, actually.
Yeah.
You probably understand, but and then if we're just doing construction towards the end to check that it looks okay and to take pictures, or if we do an installation, of course, we're going to travel to install. So 2 or 3 visits over a project is usually
Yeah. So
enough.
did you find that you just told your PR company that you wanted to focus on Hilton Head? Like, did you pick general areas? I'm just thinking of that person who maybe wants to target a specific vacation location.
Yeah, so that's what I did. Like we used to vacation there, and I felt like I already knew the area.
Yeah.
So yes, that's what we did. And for someone who wants to, let's say, oh my gosh, I love Jersey Shore.
Yeah, anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, go there.
Yeah.
Post on social media from that spot. Maybe you know someone who's from there that you can maybe do a freebie for, like
Right.
condo. Shoot the project, get it up on social media, tag it with the location. If you can't do a project, talk to builders, talk to real estate agents, announce your presence, and the coffee shop owner, ask if you can leave your business cards. Yeah.
Yeah. It helps to kind of know where you want to go, right? Well, like it's not as effective if you just say, we want to do a vacation property. That's not as effective as saying, we spend a lot of time in, Harbor Island or Hilton Head or wherever it is. That's not as effective. I remember when my team decided that we wanted to do projects out of town. And at that point, we were, of course, our main team is in Toronto. And a lot of Canadian Torontonian clients have places in Florida. So that was where we put our kind of our high beams.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long. And suddenly we had a couple of places that we're doing in Florida. And we're like, wow, we can do the same thing. We can do all the work from Toronto with these strategic meetups in Florida, and it works just fine.
Yes. Yeah. Even, I mean, I have to say, it works even better when you're really, I got 3 visits or 4 visits. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
You have to be so sharp. You have to know exactly what you want answers to.
Yeah.
On each meeting. And so I honestly do think you get a little more sloppy with projects closer by.
Yeah, no, it's true because there's this idea that I can just go back and check. And like, I have a fit if we haven't gotten the information we need and somebody says, let's just go back to the house. What do you mean go back to the house? What if the house were in Hawaii? No, why did you not get that information when we were there the first time? Like, that's inexcusable. So you're right. I think doing those out of town projects can help show you how efficient you could be at home as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it forces you to have all the processes lined up, and you have to know what you're doing. So
What about have you run into issues with regards to taxes or duties? Like there are some things you need to figure out, right?
oh gosh. I was like, I hope she doesn't go down that.
Oh, has something hurt? Did something happen that hurt? That's usually what
No, but
happens for me.
it's just a hassle. Like
It is, yeah.
even in, I mean, obviously working abroad. For for instance, when I moved to Toronto, I had a business in Sweden, in the US, and then I started my business in Toronto. And I was doing taxes that year. And even though they have a tax treaty, you only pay taxes in one of the countries, they all want you to pay taxes first, and then you'll get it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was taxes in 3 countries,
Yeah.
which almost brought me to my knees.
Yeah.
Because I paid like 101% in tax that year before I got everything back.
Right.
So the cash flow wasn't great. That was not a good idea. That said, I mean, that was the first year. After that, the accountants kind of,
Figured out how to do it right. Yeah, there's a
yeah,
reciprocal arrangement. Yeah.
you need a really good accountant to start
Yeah.
with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I do have one. She's, oh my gosh, I don't know how
For
she,
most people, it's probably a situation where you're going to do projects in your own country. Like if you live in New York, you're probably going to take a project that's in, Idaho, for example.
yeah,
Or if you live in Wisconsin, you might take a project that's in Los Angeles. So mostly it's not going to matter. But if you're crossing borders, there's definitely some things you need to know.
yeah. And even if you do businesses in different states and
Yeah,
you're
true.
actually present and delivering furniture and receiving furniture and installing, doing physical work in different states, you need different business licenses.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, just for South Carolina, you need one for South Carolina, and then you need one for the Beaufort County, and then you need one for the city of Hilton Head. So it's like
Oh,
3 business licenses. You know this, right? It's
we're doing a really good job of discouraging people from doing this. All of this can be settled and figured out, and it's totally worth it. But you do need to know, right? You do need to know it's not just as easy as I think I'll do a project in the neighboring state.
are you kidding me? We're like, okay, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's
Oh my
absolutely
gosh.
terrible. But I try to just kind of say, okay, the most of the work is done here. So
In my head office kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the design plan, and we just visiting, gray zoning. I don't know if that was your tip, but I need to know your tip.
Well, we do have a head office and we do most of the work in one location. And then, what we have to do in another location, we deal with through lawyers and accountants, and it just kind of works out. But it
Hmm.
can be a little nerve-wracking. There's no question about it. I
Yes.
do love that it forces you to be super efficient, which can help every other project in your life. Right? You realize, like, you know what? I shouldn't have to go on the job site 88 times to understand the house. I got the
No,
house figured out prior to any shovel going in the ground. I already know where everything is and all decisions have been made. So that's really helpful. Is there a part of you that wants to narrow your focus now, or do you still love being spread across the continents?
I kind of like being in different countries for sure, because I enjoy learning new things, and you learn so much
Mm.
from working in different countries. Um, when it comes to builders, codes, culture,
Yeah.
anything
Nicknames. I love the Aussies. They call their electricians Sparkies.
they do. I've never worked in Australia.
Yeah,
Spark.
Sparky, my Sparky. I'm like, you're what? I asked my electrician here if I can call him a Sparky. He's like, call me whatever you want. I don't care. Isn't that cute though?
Yeah, so you worked in Australia?
No, I've never worked in Australia, but we have Business of Design members in Australia and they refer to their Sparkies, which I think is adorable. Do you think, I think that having projects in multiple locations is very attractive to certain clients who are looking for someone who's a bit more worldly, who maybe has more experience like they do, I think it can be a real plus. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I actually have two Australian couples as clients at this point here in the US.
Mm.
So absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it really does. And for me, for instance, Christina Richardson Interiors is all about more high-end clients, of course. Everybody strives towards that. And high-end clients tend to have houses in different countries, in different
Yeah,
locations.
that's
So
right.
it kind of goes really well with my ideal client as well.
Hmm. Yeah, interesting. Well, it's something to think about. If you haven't yet gotten out of your regular location, it can be a really thrilling moment. So maybe give it some thought. I think it can add a lot to your portfolio and it can add a lot to your growth as a designer as well.
100%. And start with the town next to you. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like a 9-hour time difference. It can be like 30 minutes away or 2 hours away.
Yeah, that's
Start
a
there.
really good point. People have cabins or cottages or
Yeah,
bunkies or whatever you call them, where camps, whatever they're called, wherever you live. In Los Angeles, you can have a client, and we have had clients who have a place in Hollywood Hills, and then they have a weekend house in Malibu, which is great. Like that's really fun for us.
yeah.
So that's a good tip as well, to see you could stay within state, but still branch out a little bit. Christina, we love to end every episode with something we call design intervention. It's just a great piece of decorating it, or not decorating advice, business advice.
Oh,
Advice you think everybody should know and live with. What would be your best tip for listeners?
this is, thank you for asking this question because this is so important. From my business director days, where I did business across the globe, have a good contract and get to know, and I'm going to read from my paper because I never can't remember this. Get to know the UN Convention on Contracts for the International Sales of Goods. And this law is an international business law that most countries signed on. And this law steps in if you have a contract or if you don't have a contract, but every gap your contract has, if it has gaps, if you don't have a contract, this is going to step in. And it regulates when you have an agreement. It regulates what happens if a piece of furniture get damaged during shipping or handling or whatever. It handles times, responsibilities. It's the best law to know for an interior designer ever, no matter if you do business locally or internationally. This is the law to know. And it's not super difficult to read.
Hmm.
And I know there are classes. Take a class in CISG. It's CISG.
And what does it stand for again? Tell us again.
Wait. Okay, here we go. The UN Convention on the Contracts for the International Sales of Goods.
Okay. Wow. All right. That's some information for me to follow up on because I'm not familiar with it, but I guess my lawyer probably is. So that hopefully.
Yeah, otherwise she's lawyer. But this law is really good. It's if you know this law, you know the ropes, you get more secure in negotiations, you know what's right and wrong. You don't have to feel insecure when it comes to damages or
It just needs a snappier name. Someone needs to brand that with a little bit snappier name. That's a mouthful.
yeah. I can never remember it. And I worked with it for like 25 years,
That's
so
amazing.
this is
That's
yeah.
the one. All right. Thank you so much. It was amazing to meet you, and hopefully I'll see you at KBIS.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll wait.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead. I know you. All right,
Yeah.
sweetie, take care. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.